Hey everyone, welcome back to ArtosisCasts. Today, a little bit of something different. I want to lie to you and say that this Zerg is flash on a barcode so that you don't click off the video, but it's not. We're having Mini here in the bottom right, and he's going to go against HM in the top left. Now, the reason I wanted to do this was a couple factors. First off, I feel like there's just so few PVZs lately because of Flash playing all the games, right? We did have one of his, but yeah, definitely wanted to mix it up just a little bit, get a PVZ in here. Also, ASL qualifiers are coming up, okay? And, you know, Mini obviously is he's always in ASL, always getting deep. This is HM. HM is one of the best up-and-coming Zergs in the world. So I kind of wanted to check in when I saw that these two had played and be like, all right, what type of level is HM going to show in this matchup? He's really, really strong. He's been close to getting an ASL for a long time. Why is his Overlord going in this direction? That's a misclick. That's a huge misclick. Why is your Overlord coming all the way back here? What is going on? I wonder if there's any way, because you might see him just check here and turn around. No, okay. That does happen sometimes. So maybe he was avoiding something like that, but no, that had to just be a misclick he wasn't watching. Sometimes early games, you can play distracted a little bit, thinking about something else, whatever, previous game. But yeah, let's see how HM looks in ZVP right now. You know, he's someone that, like, I've had on my radar for a long time. It takes years for people to get from high amateur level to actual ASL. Like, I'm in ASL even one time, and then to get that consistently. Like, a lot of people will make it in one time and then not make it for a long time. Like, look at Scan, for instance, right? I honestly believe Scan is one of the best Terrans in the world right now. He's only been in ASL one time. I think he'll make it this season. He's playing, like, honestly better than most of the other top Terran pros. So I hope so. And, you know, HM is one of these guys where it's like, you know, the future of Zerg is going to involve HM some way, somehow. But yeah, we'll see. I got to say, with the new, I don't know if you guys heard, I think I did mention in another video, there is a new Star League that's going to be starting. And you know, people are asking, like, will they actually spend the time to play that? Because you don't really make your money as a top pro off of any sort of like ASL or anything like that. Any tournament play, it's all made off of the nightly pro leagues that they do. That makes them huge amounts of money. And it's like, well, even if the top pros didn't play, having a new league come out is going to be huge for players like HM, right? Either those top pros are playing in more tournaments, which is just good in general for us to be able to watch more of their awesome games at the highest level of competition, or some of these super high level amateurs that have a hard time getting in ASL. Maybe that's a league that has a higher percentage of them because they don't get to partake in like the really high money pro league matches. They still play some pro leagues and make some money and everything, right? Like there's like Brood War is making a lot of people living in Korea right now. But yeah, I'm very excited about that, especially for people like HM. But let's see what HM is going to look like. His hatchery actually takes a huge amount of damage from this zealot pressure. He's trying to be careful not to overlose Zerglings. As long as he doesn't lose the hatchery, the odds of Mini coming in and sniping it later are not as high as you may think. Like, you can make a Sim City that makes it almost impossible to target this thing down. And in fact, a lot of people make mistakes when they come in and try to do that. Ooh, nice micro there by HM. He actually readjusts the Zerglings so 4 could hit instead of 2. Now, droning up, back at home, Mini has his Nexus almost done. He goes Forge in the main base, so he's not going to have to lose that to any sort of Hydra pressure. And Cybernetic Score is part of his wall out in the front. You can see just how greedy Mini is playing this. Beautifully, beautifully done here. Definitely something that Mini is better at than almost anyone. And in fact, we might see Stargate before Cannon. I think he's looking at this and saying there's no way a Massling bust is coming. Well, no, he throws the cannon down. Cybernetic Score is really not even that close yet. So maybe, well, I guess he's going to have the money anyways. It wouldn't make sense, right? Like, if you're non-stop pro production and you're still going to have 150 minerals left over while you make the Stargate, there's no reason not to make the cannon at that point, right? It just matters where you're at in your build. So there is the Stargate coming up. He has his +1 on the way very quickly as well. And of course, that cannon is almost done. So Zergling's not going to get anything done across the map. Looking over at HM's base, he is getting Zergling speed, but not for an all-in. This is a defensive Zergling speed while he pops up a bunch of hatches. I'm actually a big fan of this type of play where it's a slower layer with faster speed, and it's just very, very mineral heavy. You can see he's making a ton of drones. Look at this, 28 drones already, adding up to 5 hatches already. There's a Hydralisk Den. See, this is a macro play. Even though you don't see a layer and you see the Hydralisk Den, the Hydralisk Den is not going to be for a bust. It's going to be to protect his overlords from incoming Corsairs. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this type of ZVP. I've seen Hero do kind of similar things before, although faster speed on that one, to be fair, where it might look like it could be aggressive, and then it just goes into heavy, heavy hatcheries and lots of drones. But yeah, anything where you mineral load into your gases, I think is pretty cool for Zerg. So right now, Mini does start to push out of his choke a little bit against these Zerglings. Corsair going to go across the map for some scouting. Second photon cannon coming up because he doesn't have that much intel right now. And Speedlings don't care about 1 cannon, but 2 definitely makes a big difference. And now he's going to start walking across the map here with those 6 Zealots. His +1 is not near done, so it probably will not finish before these Zealots decide what they're going to do. Couple Hydras out to push his Corsair back like we were talking about before. Hydralisk speed as well as the +1 attack on the way. There's that 6th hatchery, and layer should be next. Like, he is popping out some units, but like I would be pretty surprised. Yeah, there it is. Which hatch? The main hatch, okay. Sometimes people make it on the really damaged hatch because it gives the extra health bonus when it finishes. Okay, so 3 more gates coming up. Templar Archives. I mean, everything looks like pretty standard. You know, maybe some things a little bit interesting, like I talked about the, the speed upgrade for the Zerglings into the heavy hatches with the Hydras as your defense. Now, here come a bunch of Zealots. And he's actually trying to go for that hatchery. Sometimes this becomes an overcommitment. So actually, he doesn't go for the hatchery. He goes for drones, and he just has these ones go after Hydras. I don't know how well this is going to work. Speed is done, +1 is done. I mean, it didn't look terrible from Mini, but it didn't look great either. Like, he didn't really get drones. He killed some Hydras and some Lings. But I don't... Well, I guess this is actually... Okay. I guess this is where he gained the extra value and made that a plus EV trade. Gets like 4 Overlords, or maybe it was 3 Overlords there, with those Corsairs, while the Zealots kind of force everything to come over here defensively. So, all right. That actually ended up being a bit better than what I thought it would be because of the Corsairs. And Mini, you know, with all those distractions across the map, is just setting up his 3rd base very, very quickly here. Now, are we going to see this area set up defensively? You know, this is something for retro that we see a lot, is you can make this type of area impenetrable. And if you do that, like, Protoss is forced into more of a roaming game. But of course, you do need to get a 4th base up as well. So like maybe we'll see HM try to expand over here and, you know, take that, something like that. I mean, he could go this as his 4th, but it doesn't lead to a 5th very easily. Although 4 base is enough to go like basically everything Zerg wants and needs. +1 armor here on the way. A couple photon cannons and Zealots up here. This is actually not that much defense, so a little bit nervous about that. Killing off some Overlords, trying to get a DT up here, but he's going to run into way too much. The Zealots buying a little bit of time here, and the cannon's actually helping out a lot, sending more Zealots over now. Pulls this one back. Really good defense there. Those 2 Zealots providing exactly enough time for him to get reinforcements here without really losing anything. Loses like 1 cannon. He doesn't really care about that. All right, Robo on the way. And notice how he's only on 4 gates and he already has a 3rd base. Like, Mini really is the best at this type of play, where you're cutting every edge. Normally, you see 8 gates into a 3rd. Here, Mini has figured out, like, he's gotten so much intel through his attacks that he knows that HM doesn't really have an army that can come down and kill him. So, you know, he's adding gateways afterwards. You can see an additional pylon going up. He'll probably add even more than the 8 gates that we normally see. Dragoon range on the way. Observatory coming up. +1 armor almost done. Very excellent play here from Minion. 63 probes and 3 bases. Like, he is going to have insane production momentarily here. Wouldn't be surprised, in fact, if he ends up taking a 4th base relatively quickly this game as well. I feel like as soon as he gets his roaming army out, and his roaming army is going to consist of Zealot, Dragoon, High Templar. Dragoon range is almost done, and he's going to have observers pretty soon here as well. But like once he has that army that can run around and kind of respond to anything Zerga's doing, I think this might be a very good base for him. I'm interested to see what he thinks about that, because really his setup doesn't look like he's setting up for a 3-base timing attack. This looks like I can't really die, my army's going to be great. Let's expand again and roam around. Now, you know, we get this as the 4th base for HM. And this is a very good defendable 4th base, right? You can make a good SimCity, put lurkers, whatever, and block attacks up this ramp. And of course, if Protoss is trying to come this way and go up the ramp, all of your forces can come down and flank at the ramp, and that's going to be very difficult for many. So the 4 bases are going to be really hard to attack into. He sets up a minor contain here. This is actually very easy for Mini to break. It shouldn't take him very long at all. He's got tons of Psystorm in here as well. He almost has Kadarian Amulet also, and you can see really no damage dealt. I'm surprised he actually even came down here with such a weak containment. Bunch more gates coming up for Mini. Really getting that macro going. Starts to push out onto the map a little bit. Now, this is a great roaming army. Oh, that was a nice snipe. There was a couple storms down. Very high energy High Templars, and of course he has those Dragoons to just do consistent damage here. +2 attack on the way. We did see for a while a lot of people going +2 armor instead of +2 attack. So kind of cool to see that from Mini, deciding instead that he wants that +2 attack. Also, I missed this, but actually the Queen's Nest already up, and he is going for Hives. So Adrenal upgrades. Probably will start some melee attack upgrades as well. Doesn't have any of those yet. Yeah, there it is, melee attack. So triple Evo going on. Triple Evo Hive is very strong, and you can see he's really defending now. He knows that there's a big army out on the map for Mini. So, and by the way, as Mini came out with this roaming army I was discussing before, look at that, takes that 4th base immediately. So these guys are basically set up perfectly for a very big late game PvZ. Very well defended. He's making that invincible area that we talk about so often on Retro and PvZ, setting up another area that you don't want to attack into. And Mini, of course, he has this roaming reactive army here. These Zealots, luckily on the ramp, do force H&M to turn... H&M, oh my god. He's a clothing store. He forces HM to turn around while he gets some of these cannons up. And this is really hard to attack up. You see the positioning of these lurkers? This is purposeful. If they were near the edge, they'd already be dead. So what you do is you say, okay, come up the ramp. And if you come up the ramp, they start to shred you, and all your stuff is clumped up. So just utilizing mass storms here to try to break through, but don't forget, we can have a massive flank coming from this way. If you start to move up the ramp and he slows you, everything hits against you, and you get screwed. You know, one of the most important things about PvZ, keeping High Templars alive, keeping Dragoons alive. Zealots are expendable, but you need to keep your main Dragoon army alive, right? Like, this is very important. It makes it so that your opponent doesn't get free damage against you. Anything that comes in to hit this army, the Dragoons will deal damage to. And if it's a big commitment, you storm it. If it's a small commitment, it might turn around. All right, now a little attack coming up towards this 4th base location. Oh, actually, it looks like he might just be pushing him back and trying to take this base. Yeah, drone coming over and getting into position. +1 melee still on the way. +1 carapace already done. And Plague being researched. So, definitely getting into that Defiler tech. This is a really hard position to break. Gonna want to utilize some storms here for sure. Of course, he has Kadarian Amulet, so lots of storms are going to be cast this game. Throws one storm down there. You see that one was a little bit too close to the ramp. You don't want them to pick it off from low ground. That's exactly what he wants. I think this is worth the push, but if you get flanked and lose everything here, you're going to lose this game, I think. Unless you're so cost efficient. All right, throws a storm down. Notice how he's being really careful. Trying to break this, but making sure that he does not lose this main army. Comes out, storms some of these lurkers. This is like really important for Mini. If he had shoved everything up here, actually, I think HM would run away with this game pretty quickly. Pretty sure. Like, now, you notice he's just kind of keeping these Dragoons alive. Storming anything that's a huge commitment upon them. And he actually has... Oh, I can't click. Yeah, he has 2 more storms. So there's 1... And I think this is where you actually pull back here. Or you could reinforce. Yeah, it looks like a lot of High Templars and Zealots coming up to keep these Dragoons healthy. But it does look like he should be able to kill this as well. Like, if you lead with, like, 2 Zealots here, you're going to be able to break those Lurkers pretty quick. Now, more units coming up. The High Templars, of course, a little bit slow, but they are coming as well. And he leads with those 2 Zealots. Going to pick off these Lurkers super fast. Some good storms going down. He has so many storms in here, and the Zealot's going to be very, very tanky as well. And he is going to be able to kill this base. So this is an important moment. He's denying another main base for Zerg, and that's incredibly, incredibly important. If Zerg start getting additional main bases, once they have a Nidus up there, you're never going to break it. So he's breaking that just in time, throwing down some excellent storms here. Just so many endless storms, man. 4 gas really makes you a lot. Looks like he's looking for a plague here. All right, throws a plague down mostly on the Zealots. You know, the Dark Swarm counters the Dragoons already, so the plague on the Zealots actually does make a lot of sense, because then the Lurkers will just shred them instantly if they try to run forward. The tanky units are no longer tanky. That's basically what they're doing at this point, is tanking. So a second Forge is up, and he's actually going +3 attack and +1 plasma shields. Now, I think the reason he's going for the plus attack upgrades as opposed to plus armor is because he needs to stay a step ahead of the carapace, so he 2-shot slings. Because, you know, in PvZ, what you're really looking, or in ZVP rather, what you're really looking for later in the game is a Lurker's Zergling composition. It kind of counters pretty much everything. Maybe not like Reavers and Storm necessarily, but it just trashes all the gateway units. It trashes bases. A very, very strong comp. Now, you can see this area got cleaned up, right? He killed this hatchery. We had a lot of battles here. Now Mini's setting up here. But in the meantime, HM sends a ton of Lurkers and Lings to the bottom left. So he's going to be able to set up in the bottom left. He's taking 2 more bases. So he's going to 6 base. Mini's going to 5 base. And that's approximately even. Right? Like, these guys are getting absolutely everything. You can see a huge bank here for Mini. The one thing that he does need to get is that Reaver tech. We can see he's getting shuttle speed now. That might actually be for Psystorm drops as opposed to Reavers. But he will need Reavers as the Defilers become harder and harder to deal with, as the Zerglings get better and better upgrades. Right? Like, eventually you're going to be on 3 carapace. Like, when everything's on 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, the Zerglings start winning against everything in the game. Right? Only, like, Reavers and High Templars. Like, they even beat Archons for price. It's the craziest thing. Now, that being said, you have 12 Archons in a clump. Yeah, they aren't going to beat that. That's, you know, it has to do with surface area, but Zerglings really start to counter everything with maxed upgrades. Ton of drones being transferred down. Look at this, 63 to 59. Both sides maxed. Absolute insanity. Now, throwing down a lot of Psystorms here. Zealots trying to come up to help out a little bit. Plague does go down on this army, so he is going to back up. Doesn't want to be too wasteful. Another great storm there. Eliminates a couple more Lurkers. And here are those first Reavers. He is utilizing the shuttle speed first and foremost. Well, it's almost done. But to get his Reavers into the battle. And you can see that HM is coming down and specifically targeting Reavers when he can. Those are one of the most dangerous units in that late game. Absolutely demolish anything under Dark Swarm. Amazing against Lurkers, amazing against Lings. They actually aren't that good against Hydras, which is why you don't see them earlier in the game. They can get picked off very quickly from Hydras. Psystorm is going to be much better in that case. But yeah, oh man, look at that storm. And Mini is basically cleaning out this area. And you know, he set up this area. I talk a lot about how this area can be invincible, but he used all the units that are normally up here and put them here, probably to try to defend this and this at the same time. Now, we have a huge flank coming in, brings out all the Lings and Lurkers that were down there, and actually surrounds the army. That is so many Lurkers. See, this is what I was telling you about Ling Lurker kind of being the end game for Zerg a lot of the time. Obviously, some Defilers in there as well, but Ling Lurker is unbelievable together. And he just has so many of them right now. Tons of Lings, tons of Lurkers coming down. Taking a look at the upgrade, he is working on 2-3 upgrades for the Zerglings. We already have +3, I believe, ranged attack going. So the Lurker's dealing maximum damage already. Yeah, there's that +3. Just crazy, crazy damage coming out of them. Some good Psystorms go down, though. Wow, really quick reaction there from HM. And look at this. He tried. Oh, my God. He had a drone up here somehow and tried to do a hatchery. You might be wondering why. He was going to Nidus. And if you can Nidus into a base, like, that's some BGH stuff there. But if you could actually pull that off, 100% you kill that base. Like, Protoss just is not going to be able to hold that against a Nidus. Nidus just reinforces way too quick. So some good storms coming down. HM starting to take a little bit of control of the map now. Well, a lot of control of the map. But his cost efficiency is nowhere near Mini's. You can see Mini with a huge, huge bank right now. Very small for HM, who is down in supply. There's that Nidus. Oh my God, oh my God. One Zealot that actually will die to the Zergling. He's trying to get the Zergling to run into the cannons. This is so funny because he can't. If the Nidus goes up, he'll lose the base. You can see he's masked cannons and everything. Okay, there you go. There you go. He does it. Blocks it, very importantly. A couple gates here, blocking. Now, this containment. Okay, you can make a containment and try to make yourself more cost efficient against the army moving out, and you don't want Mini roaming because it's such a powerful play in the late game with Protoss. But if he were to go here with like a very big army, well, that's a lot of Psystorms, man. That's 7 Psystorms. But Dark Swarm negates all the cannons, right? So if you have enough to get through 7 Psystorms, you'll just kill the base. More High Templars still being made, so he's kind of aware of that. Throws some Psystorms down as a lot of units come up to attack the 3rd. No Dark Swarm here. But really, he's just trying to break it with brute force. Mini clears that out. In the meantime, a Defiler over here. Is he going to plague Archons? Oh, he makes the Archons look cool. Very nice. Small buff to the Archon. Small buff to the Archon. Makes him a bit scarier. Now, the economies for these guys are absolutely insane. It's very rare that you see this big an economy on both sides of a PvZ. But of course, again, the efficiency for Mini is so much higher. Now, I mean, the bases are just so even. It feels like Mini should be able to take this game. Now, running over to this side, clears everything under that Dark Storm. More plagues going down. Notice how he's adding Hydras in. This is because of the massive, massive Archon count. Hydras are excellent against Archons. Archons just suck against Hydras. They take full damage from that ridiculous... It's 13 damage that they're dealing right now, a shot, very, very quickly. And the Archon range is terrible. So, you know, you kill the Archon super, super fast with those extra Hydras in there. The Plague, of course, doing less damage to them than 1 Hydra shot would do. Less than 2 Ling attacks would do. Less, yeah, slightly more than 2 drone attacks, though. That is true. That is true. I'll give him that. Now, another big attack from HM down on a 6 o'clock. Really trying to break through. There's not that many minerals left, so even if he loses this, it's like the least impactful base he could lose. Mini coming up and trying to flank through here. The Lurker Egg on the ramp, very smart. The high armor really slowing him from moving into position here. A lot of great storms onto this Lurker Hydra. He tries to move them out and spread them a little bit and does a good job of that. We actually don't have any detection here anymore. So can't quite clear that. Now more and more Lings and Lurkers coming down, kind of flanking this army a little bit. Well, looks like he should be able to clear this. Still a huge bank here for Mini. It's kind of interesting. Like, yeah, he's making 4 Zealots and 10 High Templars. It's mostly about the High Templars. That's why you see his gas so dried up. Like, Archons are going to be very useful, and Storms are going to be very useful in this later portion of the game. A couple things, like Reavers, even though they're like a reasonably high-tech unit, they're actually very mineral heavy. So that's going to be a great thing for him to spend this huge mineral bank on. Because don't forget, right, it's 200, 100 for a Reaver. Plus, you generally need shuttles to bring them around, which are just 200 minerals. Plus, you need to refill Scarabs consistently, right, which are 15 minerals per shot. So when you look at all that, it's actually a mineral-heavy unit. Yeah, a little bit of gas, but that is a great place for mineral sinks. As you get later into the game, Zealots just don't scale that well in this matchup. They're still useful. They're still pretty strong. But like I said before, the Cracklings are actually going to outscale them. Their upgrades are much better. And of course, the Mass Lurker and Plague just makes the Zealots like a shadow of what they were in the earlier game. That's why we're seeing like a lot of Archons and stuff here as well. So throwing some very good Storms down. Unfortunately, there's too many Lurkers under here. You can't engage that with the Archons. Plague goes down on the Reaver and Shuttle. That's one of the best counters that you can really get. And look at that. Snipes two things there, the Observer and the Shuttle, with those Scourge. And really, this is about Reavers at this point, I feel like, right? So much of Mini, if Mini is to win this game, the Reavers are going to need to get some really, really great shots. It's not that he's like far behind or something. There's no other way to really break the Dark Swarms, right? He's plaguing everything. Archons actually have a ranged attack, but they deal splash damage. You can see how they're not actually doing anything there. A single Lurker, it's like they'll help against Lings and stuff under the Dark Swarm, but you know it's so hard to make them do anything that helpful under Dark Swarms. And of course, as more Hydras come out, like the Archons just start to evaporate. Ooh, quite a few High Templars here, actually in a bad location. Looks like you will be able to run them away. And a lot of these Archons actually getting caught here as well. HM putting out a great game. Really and truly. Like, Mini is so good at these positions as well. So pulls back. We still just have 2 Robos. I feel like he could have gone for more Robos than that. But, yeah, it is pretty tedious to constantly be making those Reavers and, transporting them around, getting the good shots. Because it is, plaguing them is incredibly, incredibly strong. Now, he sends a shuttle up here to pick up 2 of them. So that is going to be helpful. You can see his army is becoming more Zealot heavy at this point, as he does run dry on some of these gases for sure. No, he still has that one. Actually, the 3rd is still going as well. So this actually was an important base to keep alive. And yeah, the Hydra's a reasonable counter. It's so funny, right? Like, the Ling Lurker is what you really want to get, but then you get into this late game where there's like Reavers and Archons, and then suddenly the Hydras have use, right? You would never go Hydras in the early game other than to bust, if you could get away with it. But of course, the Zealot +1 attack kind of forces you into that. But yeah, now he's actually massing up Hydras to try to counter Archon plus Reaver. And that's where you're going to actually be like, oh gosh, I want more of the Storm. I want more of the Dragoons and everything as well. The Zealots are going to be actually pretty good against those. But yeah, as he comes up and burrows a lot of these Lurkers, he is grinding through this army reasonably well. We're going to have to do some mineral checks. It looks like a lot of these bases are gone. Okay, still has gas and minerals, gas and minerals, gas and minerals. So 3 mining bases plus this, which he pulls away from for now. As far as Mini goes, this one's gone. So he has this base and still a little bit down here. So actually, Mini has much better mining going on. And we are going to see that GG from HM. It seems like he's just kind of dried up at this point. Can't really field an army the size he needs. But we went into this trying to see what type of shape that HM is in. And honestly, that looked like a really good game. Like, we know mechanically he's very good. We know micro-wise he's very good. But how is he going to look in an actual game against, like, a championship level player? And I feel like he made very good decisions throughout, right? Like, I did think when he had the contain here, that wasn't great. I did feel like maybe he should, really try to clear this base. And I'll stand by that. I think that would have been a slightly better choice. But I think overall, he made very good moves. So, well done by HM, and looking forward to seeing if he can get into ASL this coming season. Guys, if you sat through this long PvZ that I know it doesn't have Flash in it, leave a comment below and let me know. I love casting Flash's games, but I do want to see that people are still interested in the other very strong pros that we have in the scene. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.